Okay, so to really understand cryptocurrency, it's important to understand what currency is, which really it's a medium of exchange, a store of value, and it's used for a unit of account. So right now the central banks control all our monetary supply with the IMF and all the global leading world banks. So cryptocurrency is digital currency where it's not controlled by any central authority or issued by any nation. They are coins that are available online, which anyone can mine, and it's used as a medium of exchange. Now, Bitcoin has grown tremendously over the last 10 years, more so I'd say the last 5 years, mainly because the people who use cryptocurrencies, the community of cryptocurrency is really about we want, or they want, I should say we, because I'm part of the community, is a more decentralized currency, because the centralized system, the centralized banking system, does create a lot of problems.
When you say centralized, meaning because most of the money is invisible anyway, somebody else, somewhere else, controlling how that money comes into existence, right?
Yeah, so centralized banking is basically like, well, the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank which prints and manages all the money in circulation. They'll set up. So think of the central banking system very much like a business, which it is. It's a private organization, and they will set up other branches of their business. So you have the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan. So you have all these other banks,
which are all privately owned companies.
Yeah, by the Federal Reserve, and so these banks are in partnership with the government, and they provide the legal tender or the legal donation of what each area is going to use. So that's all good, and I think the system has and did work well for what it needed to. I mean, the banking system properly started in the 1400s, but the fiat system that we know of today, so fiat's where money isn't backed by anything,
right?
That started in the 1940s,
right?
So
it's relatively new.
It is,
and this is when countries go off the gold or silver standard. Right?
Exactly. So now we've adopted into this fiat system, what we've seen is these bubbles. So the first major collapse we saw was in 1929, and that's why they actually issued all gold. It was a law that all gold had to be sent back, because they knew that the system that they created would always collapse, because it's like, for example, how the banking system works now is they say to a government, right, we're going to lend you 12 marbles, let's just use marbles, we're going to lend you 12 marbles, but we want you to give us 15 back. Where's the other 3 coming from if the central banks are the ones that create this money? There's always debt bubbles, and this is why we always have to go through some sort of collapse. So the major one we saw was in 2008 when we had the recession, and what they found with the system is that every sort of 7 to 10 years we will experience some sort of collapse, because there's not going to be enough money to pay back the debts,
right,
which will either bankrupt the government or the banks. And we saw that happen in Iceland when Cyprus, basically the banks were bankrupt. People wanted their money. They didn't have enough money there to give back to everybody. And so the bank basically became bankrupt and closed down. So cryptocurrency is a digital currency that is not issued by the central bank. Anyone can go and start mining Bitcoin and creating this currency if you've got the computer and the hashing power. That changes a lot in terms of issuance of money, because we always talk about economies and we always talk about business, but the fuel that runs all business is the currency you use. And if the currency is controlled by your oppressor, as we would call it, or controlled by a system that isn't for you, how are we actually ever meant to liberate ourselves? And this is one thing that I think a lot of us miss, is currency. What are we using as a medium of exchange? So Bitcoin and the blockchain really changes this for a lot of people. Anyone can create their own currency in a secure way on the blockchain. And
see, what I didn't understand, anyone can create their own currency. I know people go to war over this stuff. Isn't that why Saddam Hussein ended up at the end of a rope? Like, how now is it just okay? Like, someone's got a computer program and now all of a sudden we can create currency, and a little while ago it wasn't okay. So what makes cryptocurrency okay? Because I just can't understand. Do you know what? I know it works. I know Bitcoin has grown exponentially. I can read the figures. I know other people who've invested in it, and they're saying this is the future. You just got to get on board. But if I just take my Luddite, just everyday mind, how does this work, and how comes the government can't just come and close this off and take this from us?
Because the thing with cryptocurrency, because it's basically like the internet. So think about the internet. It's a protocol on a computer online where anyone can go in and access files on the internet. Well, the blockchain is like the internet, but it's transactions. It's logs of transactions. Everyone has a copy of the blockchain on the Bitcoin protocol, because that's the whole point of it, is being able to create transparency of transfer of value. And I think, to answer your question, why is it happening now? I personally, and this is just my opinion, and this is just my belief.
Go ahead.
I personally believe that the monetary system are issuing the cryptocurrency or the blockchain mythology because the current fiat system just doesn't work, and it will completely crash. And I see that happening very soon, like where there's the monetary and the fiat system, because it's been running for so long, at bankruptcy, because the banks are bankrupt and the governments are bankrupt.
The nations are.
Exactly. So a lot of the legislations and all the things that they put on are not even legal. They know that there's a period of time, and I think the blockchain and cryptocurrency, because you've got to understand, a lot of these technologies that come out, think about the internet, that was like in the military way before it came out to the public.
Go ahead.
So you've got the blockchain that's being pushed out at the moment, and it's a really amazing technology. The way the blockchain's been created, the mechanics behind it is very, very technical, and it would take a really serious mind to come up with something like this. So I do feel there is a bigger agenda way back there, actually trying to push in blockchain and digital currencies and completely get
because the currency that we're using is so precarious, and I mean it's been pushed around that like the American dollar will fall, the pound will fall behind it, and we actually need something. Yeah,
it's a replacement, and I genuinely believe that there's higher powers that need the blockchain to come in, because we will go through a complete financial and banking collapse, which will debase all currencies, and literally, like, our money is worthless now, but it will be rendered even worse. So I think there's in order to protect the economies, because what happened, there was a major issue. I don't know if anyone follows Bitcoin, but the SegWit, this was like it was put out to increase the block size to make transactions quicker. However, on the back scene, what people don't know is that the banks got involved. The banks actually bought out a lot of the developers in the Bitcoin, because it's like developers and the Bitcoin community manage Bitcoin, and so now the banks actually are able to track and trace transactions, and they did that by implementing the SegWit. So they're already in with the Bitcoin system now.
So how can we use it?
Okay, well, there's two ways. So Bitcoin is a good currency. There are many currencies out there, and I think to really start understanding blockchain and cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, understanding Bitcoin as it was the first blockchain and cryptocurrency is a good starting point. I would definitely encourage people to hold cryptocurrency because right now we're really on some really interesting times with the banking system, and there could be a point you'll go to your bank and it's just not there, or the money's not there. So I think
I've heard this, like, there will be a point. It's just a matter of which day that happens to you.
And I would say, like, we're looking within anything between the next 6 months to a year. I see that happening personally, and I think a lot of people. I've been speaking about
6 months to a year. That's real soon.
I mean, we've been talking about this from 2 years before.
To the bank on Monday morning, people.
Yeah, take it, put it under the bed, there's
a lot of people say, they do say, and I don't want to cause, because I mean I have responsibilities. It's not to cause major panic, because I think what people need to understand is that this is actually going to be one of the most a very brilliant time for a lot of people, and not for some others. And I think people have to prepare themselves, and I say do that by really understanding alternative currencies and stop relying so much on the pound, and stop trusting and valuing the pound so much, because it's just a piece of paper.
Wow. Okay, Dana. Whew.
That was very illuminating. Very, very illuminating. Thank you very much. And just to go back, I wanted to go over some of your points about the whole kind of banking and monetary system, and you were talking about compound interest as well. that's one of the things that I find is a key missing block in people's financial education. Pretty much, if you don't understand how compounding works, that will affect the day-to-day decisions that you make, which over time will have a very negative impact on your net worth over a lifetime.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Okay, I was gonna, like, in terms of, so this be the case, here's a great change coming. We see the pound falling, we see digital markets coming. Aziz, if you could just take back that mic for me 1 second. I know this is one of the things you talk about, like, how important is it to become astute to the modern way of understanding finance and trade? Because a lot of the trade you do is actually digital now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, obviously, I own an agency, so I work with a lot of clients. I also do a lot of kind of entrepreneurial things myself, and so I get a deep insight into how marketing works as a whole. So it's coming from that perspective. First things first. But if we're looking at a business, any business, and the time we're in now, in terms of actually making a sale, if you're not aware of how that process takes place right now, and you're still operating with old methods, well, then you're going to be out of business.
TBRS.
When you say old methods, what do you mean?
I mean, when I say old methods, okay, more innovation. A good metaphor to give, or an example to give, would be Blockbuster, for example.
Okay, poor Blockbusters. They always get used for how not to do
well,
stuff.
you know, I mean, it's a kind of stubborn, stuck in your ways kind of attitude.
Yeah.
You know, Netflix gave them a good offer. You know, they could have embraced it. They didn't want to take it on, ignorance.
Netflix has the world, and Blockbusters is a footnote.
Yeah. Even with that, and I think even with that mindset, sometimes it's like when people are resisting change, because they say with Blockbuster, they actually commissioned research, and the research came back to say, you know, people like the feel of the DVDs and the video. So they're doing their best to stay where they were, rather than embracing the change.
And that's, and inevitably it comes down to a few people
think,
that
no,
are
but I don't think that research was wrong. That research was right, but I think what it lacked was it didn't have forward thinking. It's like if you do the catchment and you go, okay, 20 to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Then what you don't realise is these people are getting older. So if you get down the young, because I remember at the time I preferred the DVDs.
How do you feel about DVDs now?
I don't want none. It used to be like, you know how
convenient before.
it was convenient, right? Because the internet was slow, so we didn't
56K.
right, and then it used to look really nice. I had a really wonderful shelf with like just titles. You remember that when you were small?
Yeah.
I had titles everywhere. It's like a piece of furniture. So I liked the feel
At the time,
but it didn't embrace the fact. And this is what I was saying to us: see, stuff changes all the time, and you have to be ahead of that curve. Otherwise, you end up in the tree. So
it's essential. It's the only way that you're going to be able to adapt and be successful. And as the sister kind of broke it down, I mean, she's touching the surface. It does get quite complex, but education is the key.
Are we talking cryptocurrency?
So we're talking cryptocurrency, and you know.
Give me your take, because I know you sitting there quiet, but,
Well, no,
but you
I mean, I'm
actually
not gonna-
are
I'm not gonna-
involved somewhat in cryptocurrency.
somewhat.
So give me your take.
Somewhat. I mean, I wouldn't really go into too much detail,
Right.
but you know, our sister did explain quite a lot. But my personal view is that it's something that's essential. It's the new money, and you really have to kind of get your head around that and take notice of that. There are lots of things evolving on a daily basis. Getting your head around, I suppose, a kind of cyber currency is strange for some people.
Yes.
But the key point is that the money that we're using now is backed by nothing.
Yes.
So there's actually no difference other than the fact that we're aware that we're not in control of what happens with that. So you need to really, my advice would be to educate yourself about it, because knowing about cryptocurrency is one thing. Knowing how to utilize it and how to, you know, actually take advantage of it at an early stage is even more.
I know people who had actually told me about Bitcoin years ago and was like, yeah, this Bitcoin thing is real great. This is some good stuff, this Bitcoin thing.
Yeah.
Did you get any? No. However, it went from like whatever it was worth back then. That's what's worth crazy money right now.
If you had invested £2,000 in Bitcoin 5 years ago, you'd be a millionaire today.
Yeah.
Just 1 million.
Well, I mean,
that's what I read that in the papers basically. So I'm not sure exactly, but you'd be a millionaire, and that is sufficient. for me.
I'll be honest. I'll even go.
Jump on the mic
I'll
for
even
me,
go a
sis.
bit further than that because there's been many millionaires have been created of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So just one instance, there's £20 a gentleman put in. That's now worth it's £27 he put in. He bought 5,000 Bitcoins. They were only like less than, it was like 0.0005 pence to buy Bitcoin.
Wow.
He left them. They are worth 20 million. If he sold them today, I think he sold them for like 850,000. But
had he kept that?
yeah, it'd be
investment?
20 million today.
I don't think he was upset with his 800,000.
You probably couldn't afford a Bitcoin. As in today's market, you couldn't afford it. You could get
Like
a
one
fraction.
Bitcoin
No,
is
you
like
couldn't-
£3,000 or something.
Yeah,
isn't
you
it?
Yeah,
could get like a
3.5
fraction.
grand.
You could
Yeah.
get like a
So
fraction.
yeah, there's
of
no-
that.
What is the price of an ounce of gold?
It's actually I read something about this in the paper.
Because I'm sure that's about
They
the
said
price
that
of
Bitcoin's
gold,
worth
isn't it?
Bitcoin's worth more than an ounce of gold now.
And the thing with Bitcoin, why it keeps growing is because what we have at the minute is we have a currency that, you know, when they need more currency, they just print more. There's only ever going to be
Limited
21 million Bitcoins in circulation. So as time goes on, the rest that are in circulation are always going to be worth more.
Just break them down.
Oh.
So this is why they predict. Economists will say
now you need to tell me, why are there only 21 million Bitcoins in existence?
it was created that way to stop from hyperinflation and de-inflation.
Because what your money's, so it's only going up, it doesn't go.
Yeah, it only goes up in value rather than go down, because why we tend to experience inflation. So when we go to the shop, £20 is buying us less and less.
Yes, sooner buy a loaf of bread.
Exactly, because they keep printing money into the system, which debases the current money in existence, the value of the money. So with crypto,
Okay, I know what you said,
Yeah.
and I know what you mean. I did economics at college. However, I'm going to say it again because I'm not sure all the listeners would have got it as eloquently as you said it.
Right.
Basically, the more money they put in, there's only, let's say the country is worth £200 million. If they put 200 million in circulation, your pound doesn't change because that's what the country's worth. However, if they keep flooding it with more, and now there's 1 billion notes, the value of each one of your pounds goes down.
exactly.
There's the kiddies version. Go ahead,
Exactly.
sis.
So with Bitcoin, it's been built to avoid that by capping the amount of coins. So basically, 21 million, one coin is worth about $4,000 or $4,000 today. By 2020, they predict that one coin is going to be worth about $21,000. And by sort of the end, because the last Bitcoin will be mined in 2140.
Mind, help me now. What is you spoke about mining earlier. What is mining Bitcoins? I know you're not scared that you don't want to go too deep in it and give away all your secrets. However, I just need to know what is, because you're mining Bitcoins.
Okay, so it's in simple. So just kind of think of it like mining for gold. So when gold was discovered, people used to get their rig, go and get their mining equipment, and go down to the rigs and look for gold.
Right.
We can do the exact same thing on the internet. Look for Bitcoins through the internet. But not only that. So how Bitcoin works is the network is managed by the people.
Right.
Which you call miners. So the miners, basically, all the transactions that go into the blockchain, the Bitcoin log, instead of it being managed by the banks, we just have a group of people. Anyone can become a miner. You can become a miner. You can start mining. I actually do a mining operation myself with a company in Washington. And basically what you use is computer hashing power instead of sort of your old equipment. And what these computers do is solve problems. So in order for a transaction to be stored in the blockchain, they use this sort of, it's called cryptography, but you have to solve problems. So these computers solve the problem. Whoever completes the blocks, it's almost like a little bit of a game, wins 12.5 Bitcoins. It used to be 50. The reward used to be 50 Bitcoins. Now it's about 12.5. But some companies are solving a block every 10 minutes. Well, a block gets solved around every 10 minutes. So, yeah, if you do the maths.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you can win them, you think?
not win, but it's not winning, but it's like...
You're earning them, I
miners
guess.
compete. Yeah, miners compete to solve the block, and whoever solves the block wins the reward.
Okay, so
But
now
then
you...
do I sorry, just a quick question. So let's say I win tomorrow. I win. Good
I
start.
think there's a bit of work you got to do before you
No, but the point is, so when it comes, if I have my 12, then when it's being mined again, if those are my 12, can I hold them, or
Yeah.
do mine can go back and would go back automatically into circulation? If you
No,
No,
move
you
them?
yours.
hold them, and you might sell them for cash, or you might trade them, or you might just hold them till they become.
So
more.
where do the 12 that you get? Where do they come from?
Well, they're created just like money's created. So as soon as somebody solves a block, so basically how Bitcoin comes into circulation is when somebody mines, i.e. what the process I've just said, more Bitcoin's created. So it comes into circulation as it's mined.
Right, and I guess we haven't got to the 21 million
No.
Bitcoins. So that's the 21 million. We haven't got there yet, but that's the limit of how many Bitcoins there will be.
Exactly.
Right. So how many we got now?
16
16
million
million.
in
We're going to
circulation.
get ready to go for the ad break, but my thought is, so how come if I buy 10 Bitcoins today, I'm just guaranteed to make money?
Well, there's no guarantees because Bitcoin is valued based on trust. We don't know in 10 years if it's going to be even big.
Oh, if it's even going to be a currency.
Exactly.
Okay, and whereas he said it doesn't really make much difference because we don't know if our pounds are going to be a currency
Exactly.
10 years from now. Wow. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute. We're going to go for the ad break in about 90 seconds, and that'll just give you a chance to digest some of what you've heard there. But we're discussing money. When we come back, we're going to talk about how money is actually, what things we can put in place. We've talked about cryptocurrency, what we can do to actually up the trade in our own communities, how we can, and I know you talk about this, Victoria, because I saw you on the internet.
Generational wealth.
Yes, and how we can actually maybe have our own currency and use that in our own communities to deal with our trade. And then if we're backing our own currency, then that gives us strength to actually develop our communities and build the things that we need. So that is really interesting to me. We've also got, I think we've got a caller coming from
Sunshine Foundation.
the Sunshine Foundation, but we'll deal with that when we get back after the break. We also have to talk about news, as we always do here. We've had obviously the tragic shooting in Texas. We're going to touch some of that. I really feel the need to talk about Theresa May's conference, because that was just a debacle. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So we're going to talk about some of that and any other issues that come. Apart from that, you're listening to Talk Black Radio. I am here with my guests, which is Dana Byfield, Victoria Walker, and Aziz Juma. It is all about money today. We will be back in about 5 minutes. Go make yourself a cup of tea. We will see you back on the other side. Keep it Amiga FM. Keep it Talk Black Radio.
Breathe.